At first glance, cycling is pretty easy and fairly straightforward. You get on the bike, you start pedaling and it moves. Then when you start cycling uphill, it starts to get a bit harder, so you just change down a gear or two and it suddenly becomes easy to pedal again. But many people, particularly if they're new to cycling, don't really pay attention to their cadence, which is a bit of a shame because if they did, it would vastly improve their cycling. But what on earth is cadence? Well, it's just a word used to describe the speed at which somebody pedals, and is usually expressed in revolutions or revs per minute. I'll say here that there's no one right or wrong answer about how fast or how slow you should be pedaling. One person could be quite happily pedaling along at 95 revs per minute, while somebody else could be doing exactly the same at 75 revs per minute. It's all very, very personal. For me, it's a bit like having the rev counter on a car, and it's a good way of indicating when I need to change gear. So for instance, my home cadence is about 95 revs per minute, and I know that if I start going 5 revs above that, it's time to change up a gear, and if I go 5 revs below that, it's time to change down a gear. Now there does seem to be a little bit of confusion about cadence and speed, and I'll say straight away that they're not necessarily the same thing. Just because you may be pedaling a bit faster, it doesn't actually mean that you will be cycling faster. So again, for instance, you could have two cyclists riding along the same piece of road doing, let's say for argument's sake, 30 kilometers an hour. One of them is pedaling at 95 revs in a low gear, while the other one may be pedaling at 75 revs in a slightly higher gear. So why is it that some people find it fairly easy to pedal at these higher revs, while others struggle to pedal more than about 85 revs per minute? Well, at the risk of grossly oversimplifying things again, it's because us human beings come in two basic muscle types. You've got the slow twitch fibers, which are fairly fatigue resistant, and these are going to be the people that can ride at those higher revs. And then you've got the fast twitch muscle fibers, which rely on their strength. And these are going to be the people that find it more comfortable to pedal at lower revs. It could also be a question of some people having a better cardiovascular fitness over people who have better leg strength. The ones with better heart and lungs are going to pedal at higher revs, and the ones with better leg strength are obviously going to pedal at the lower revs. Just because you're born with one particular physiology, it doesn't mean that you can't change your pedaling style slightly to take advantage of all of the benefits of the other body type. The basic starting point for any cyclist, regardless of body type, is what I like to call the home cadence. And to find yours, all you need to do is ride along a flat piece of road in a gear that you find comfortable. And whatever your natural pedaling rate is, that's your home cadence. And for me personally, that's about 95 revs per minute. Once upon a time, I believed in a theory that I called the constant and two variables, meaning the constant was your home cadence and the two variables were the terrain that you were cycling on and the gearing that you were using. So for instance, let's imagine again that you're pedaling along at your home cadence and the first variable happens, so the road starts to kick up, and you need to compensate by using the second variable so that you can still maintain your constant cadence. nowadays I am starting to change my view on this slightly so that I can start taking advantage of the two different power systems in my body, my heart and lungs, or my cardiovascular system, and the muscles in my legs, or my strength. When I'm not out riding my bike for fun, one of the most important things for me is speed. I like to complete a particular route in the shortest amount of time, and this is where the varied cadence approach is particularly useful, especially on climbs. So now when the road starts to go up, I've got a choice. I can either continue riding in higher revs at lower gears, or I can change down a couple of gears and ride in lower revs, and it depends very much on how I'm feeling. So if I have been riding up a particular climb in the higher revs with the lower gears, that might put some strain on my cardiovascular system and I'll start to feel out of breath, in which case I'll change up a gear and start pedaling slower and start relying on the strength in my legs and my muscles. Hopefully that shouldn't have too much of an adverse impact on my speed. But then if I do want to start increasing my speed a little, all I need to do is try and pedal a little bit faster, whatever gear I'm in. And who's to say that you can't chop and change on the same climb? Ideally, cadence should be seen as a bit of a toolbox, one that you can dip into and use as and when you need, rather than some ultimate metric that you're striving to achieve. High revs and low gears for when your legs are tired, and lower revs and higher gears for when you're a bit puffed out. Thanks for watching.